I think we've got a little over half the class, so I'm going to go ahead and get started now. All right, good morning, everyone. Again, my name, for those of you just joined, my name is Heather Hatzenbuehler, and I am a Sage 100 Contractor Certified Consultant. And this morning we're going to be going over some of the enhancements to Sage 100 Contractor. First enhancement there is the name change. And so no longer will we be referring to your program as Master Builder. It is now Sage 100 Contractor. And I'm going to start with the first enhancement, and that's the licensing. Excuse me. I am going to hold all questions for the end because we have a good number of participants. I will hold all questions until the end, and everyone will stay muted until then. So please be patient with me, and I certainly will allow time for questions. So first difference is the licensing. Now we can actually put in our registration information, and this will allow, with internet access, of course, will allow the Sage direct communication with Sage. So once we put in that license administration information, the username and password exactly as it is registered with Sage, it will grab the appropriate number of licenses that you've purchased, and anytime you buy additional or add-on modules, it will in real time update that immediately. So we no longer have to wait for any certain codes or activation keys. And that's really good news, especially if you're upgrading to a new server or adding on any modules. Also, with the new license administration, we have multi-server licensing, and so this is really nice too. So if you have, 40 licenses, for example, you can designate several different license servers. So I'm going to grab one from my company instead of using up all 40. And so we can certainly do that as well. The licensing is a neat new feature. Secondly, now when we go to log in, we won't see again Master Builder. We'll see Sage 100 Contractor. The icon looks the same as it did in version 17, however. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this. And the first thing that you'll notice are the desktop changes. I realize some of you have already upgraded to version 18 and some have not. So this is a good sneak peek of what it'll look like when you do. So we have the same two options as in 17. We can show active or archive companies, and we can select from our various drives or map drives to grab our company file. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the sample company, and as usual, everyone should have the sample company. There is no password, so we can just hit login here. And once we do, we'll see one of the major changes is the overall look and feel of the program. It's been updated. It doesn't look like an old DOS-based program anymore, and we've got activity centers up in the top here. Now I'm gonna show you how to customize these and the different options that are now available to you. I'm going to start with saying those of you that do not like the change, you're used to the menu items on the left and that's all that you want to see, that's not a problem. So at any time we can click on settings here and we can either hide the activity centers altogether so that none of these will show up but our main page as it was before, or we can show just specified activity centers. If we don't have inventory and equipment add-ons, we can get rid of those activity centers. Same with estimating and scheduling, administration if it's not something that we go into typically. And so once we hit save, it'll get rid of those activity centers and we can see only what relates to us. We can also come into any of these activity centers and create shortcuts directly inside of them. And so to add or remove any shortcuts in clients and service, for example, we can click on the bottom left click here icon, and it'll give us options, as you can see here, to clear all, to remove all shortcuts from this area, to restore, which will put back any of the default shortcuts. And then we can also use the icons on the right here. If I hold my mouse over any of these, it'll let me know exactly, what that icon represents. And so I can delete specified items if I'd like to by just clicking on them and getting rid of whatever it is that I don't want, as well as the mapping for it. I can hit cancel and it'll put everything back. So I'm going to click here again and just briefly go over some of these options. This is going to let me grab any of these and drag them wherever I'd like. I can also overlap them. to allow more room. This next icon here lets me manually connect tasks, and so I can have the system draw these arrows for me basically. I have the option to automatically connect things as I add the shortcuts to the screen here, and then I can draw group boxes, and so I can create groups within the screen as well. And then I can draw my process maps here manually. These are reports down here, so maybe I wouldn't want a process map there, but I can go from creating a client to creating a job, from creating a job to maybe creating a purchase order. And so if I come into project management here, I can grab any of these items, maybe my purchase orders themselves, and place the shortcut wherever I'd like. And then I can draw a line to connect it. I can also, which I know a lot of you were waiting for, rename any of these shortcuts now. So if instead of receivable clients, I'd like this to read customers because that's what I'm used to, I can, let's see here, I can right-click on any of these icons here and select edit text, excuse me. And instead of receivable clients, maybe I want this to read customers. I hit save, and now that icon is renamed. So the same goes for any of these reports. Instead of service invoice aging, I can name it Heather's favorite AR aging report and hit save. And I'll know now, from now on, that's one that I use and always want to use. So I can save these. And again, I can right-click at any time and rename them again, but I have to click to edit before I can right-click. If I simply right-click on here, it's just going to give me the original report number and name. So again, I have to click here, and then I should be able to right-click and edit text. I also have to click on the bottom there in order to move any of these shortcuts. They will not move otherwise. Now on reports, it's a little bit different. So if I go into job reports here, and I'm just going to open up a job status report as an example, we used to have a create shortcut to selected report down at the bottom here, and that has moved. So now the create shortcut is up at the top here, and if I hit this drop down, I now have the option to create that shortcut in any of my various activity centers. So I can put this on my home screen, or because it's a job report, I can put it directly in projects, and it'll add that shortcut for me there. I can hit this again and add it to as many different activity centers as I'd like. So now if I go to Home and Resources, I see the report that I just added, and I can go into Projects and see that same report. And I can move it around, do whatever I'd like. Another thing I really like about these new activity centers is that I can create the same shortcuts in various areas. Before, in previous versions, it would tell me that I already had a shortcut to this specific screen. My goodness. So now if I go into vendors and purchasing, for example, I can put in my process here. I'll create a new vendor and then create purchase orders, invoices, etc., and then all the way through paying my vendors. Well, I might want on my main page the same, or one of the same anyway, screens or icons. So payable, invoicing, and credits, I'm used to having it on here. I'd like to add it again. It's not a problem. So I click that add, and I come right over to payable, invoices, and credits. And it's not going to give me any warning or tell me that I've already got it. And I can rename it on this one if I'd like to. And so that's one of the key things. And I can move between my different activity centers if I had them all displayed with the arrows on the right-hand side here. If any of you are having any trouble seeing my entire screen, you may try hitting the red arrow on your meeting pane, and it will collapse that window so that you can see more of my screen. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. All right, so now that we're done here, I'm going to hit cancel and remove any shortcuts that I just added. I also have a new option on the left here, so my menu as opposed to system menu. And so this is neat because if I don't have certain modules, if you will, I can remove them from my menu. So I can hit customize my menu, In general ledger, maybe I don't want to see all of these items. On my menu, I just want to see things that I go into pretty typically. For example, checks and bank charges, miscellaneous deposits, and journal transactions. I don't have recurring. I don't need it. Change period, close the year, and bank rec. I'll go to the activity center for those items. So maybe I don't need these either. Same here with accounting reports. I can take out an entire section if I don't want to access it through my menu. But I can leave everything in AR and everything in AP and remove any modules that I don't have. If I don't have, for example, utilities is not something that I typically access. I don't have the equipment module or the estimating module or the scheduling module. So if I can save this now, you'll see if I open up the general ledger, I'll only have the specific items that I left checked. And it got rid of the certain modules that don't apply to me. But it never loses the system menu. I also have the option, if I really like these activity centers up here, to hide the menu altogether. And so now I'm just dealing with these activity centers and whatever shortcuts I've created in each specific center. I'm going to go ahead and show the menu. Down here we also have the dashboard as we had before. When I go to settings, I can check this box that will automatically launch that dashboard every time I log in, or uncheck it. And all of these settings are per user. So you can set up your activity centers and your screen as you like it, and it's not going to change how everybody else's looks. You can also access the calendar and calculator. I know before they were icons up here. Now you can simply click on it and access it immediately. So definitely the desktop changes are a big thing and really a convenient thing. But again, anybody who does not want them, we can leave the system menu on the left here and get rid of all of the activity centers. Settings, hide all activity centers, save that, and now we can create shortcuts just as we had before. Okay, so also we have the system menu. My menu is different. We can hide the menu, show the menu, and go through settings and create various desktop shortcuts and rename them. So really neat things here. We also have a new feature called report search. And so I can go into review and reporting, and it's the last option, search reports. And it allows me to put in keywords to search for specific reports that I want to see. I can also get to this through my reports activity center. It's the first option, search reports. And so any of these activity centers that I hold my mouse over, it's going to give me the various options that they've put into those activity centers, and instead of having to click on them if I don't want to do that. So again, search reports either 13.8 or through the reports activity center. I bring this up and I've got a few options here. I can put in payroll and hit enter, and it's going to give me a list of all of the payroll reports or any of the reports that have payroll somewhere in the name, or grab payroll information such as a job record, anything where I'd have payroll in there for whatever reason. I can close this, and I can also click on show other options, and I can say, you know, I want a payroll report, but I only want it if it comes from the payroll module itself. And more specifically, I can grab specific database tables. That may take some time before we start to use that, but we can search by various means for specific reports. And so if I hit search here, it's only going to bring up what met that criteria. And once I click on one, I can either run the report or modify it from here. And once I click run report, it'll take me to that report printing screen, so that now that I've found this report, I can create a shortcut to it and put it either in my payroll activity center or on my home page. Okay, new enhancement also includes my lookup windows. If I am doing a new takeoff, for example, I can come into a new takeoff here, and let's just pull one up here. You'll notice in various screens that we go into, and this isn't listed as a specific enhancement in the system, but I am going to note it. We've got now these white and blue lines, and this is just so that when we look at different screens, you'll see this in accounts payable invoices, receivable invoices, pretty much all the screens that we go into that have a grid, just so that it's easier on the eye. We can, you know, see one line of information a little more clearly now that every other line is a different color. We also noticed that some of our icons have changed just slightly. It does not change what icons are available, just the look a little bit. So instead of this being a green disk, it's now a blue disk to save a record. We can still calculate record totals, but the calculator looks a little more updated. So things of this nature, and we can still, put our mouse over any of these icons to get an explanation of what that icon represents. So down here in our lookup windows again, and this is in the takeoffs, and this is also in our purchase orders if we're ordering a good number of parts at the same time, and also in our service receivables tab if we're creating a work order on the invoice tab itself. So if I hit this drop down for part, I have an option to switch to multi-select mode, and now I can select a number of parts and insert all of the selected items instead of going one by one or putting in part number one at a time. And so again, this is in my takeoff screen, and this is also in, I'll just drop down again and switch to multi-select mode. So I can grab the different things that I need by double-clicking, general requirements, HVAC, double-clicking on the items that I'd like, and then inserting the selected items. So in the 11.2 work order screen, in the takeoff itself, and in the purchase order screen, wherever I have these parts, again, just hit that drop down and switch to multi-selection mode. So a new feature that I happen to like. Another enhancement is, editing posted transactions. A lot of people have been asking for this enhancement for quite some time. If I go into the general ledger, for example, and this is really big in AP invoices, especially because we could put an AP invoice on the hot list, and then if anybody had any questions, instead of voiding the invoice and copying and pasting and voiding and doing the whole 9 yards, now we can just modify the amount. And so if I right-click here, I see that this is an AP invoice. And I can go to that specific invoice, or I could have gone directly into accounts payable, put in that invoice number F9. Regardless of how you find it, bring up your invoice, and now we can modify a price here. And so if I click on the price, I can change this to whatever I want. So as soon as I clicked in there, it let me know, hey, you're trying to edit a posted transaction. Hit yes to unlock this transaction. And what it'll do, as it says here, to save our audit trail that Sage is so big on here, is it's going to create that voided transaction for us, give us a link to the voided transaction, and create the new transaction. So we'll hit yes here, and now I can change this to $10,000 even if I'd like to. And when I hit save, we'll hit OK here. It looks like we've already set to pay a specific amount. So let's hit save. It gives us our same warnings, and then it lets us know that we've also got to update the job cost field. Now, in the past, whenever we did copy an invoice, void it, and paste it, it only copied that front end of the invoice. It never copied the second screen. And so now when we change the amount, we also have the option to come in here, of course, and we'll have to, change the amounts that go, or the job costs for each job individually as well. But it copies over the job, the cost code, phase, all of the information, as well as the original costs. So now we would change it appropriately and hit save. Once we do, and I'm not going to figure right now for the sake of time what that difference would be, but once we do, it'll create the new invoice for us and give us a link to the original invoice. So this one's already been modified anyway. So here I have an edit link of 215. This one is my new created invoice. Let's say no here. So now I can go to link 215, and it will show me, it was giving me, I'm sorry, the link had I created a new one. My original invoice was 207. And so now if I go to 207, it'll show me the original invoice that was voided and what those original amounts were and original costs. So again, it still follows the same procedure. It's just a lot quicker and easier to do. Now, you either have to be logged in as supervisor to do this, or have full rights to save and void transactions with your current username and login information. So again, I can just click on the price, double click on the price, and not on a voided transaction, but on a new transaction, and it will allow me to modify it as long as I have rights to void and save with my username and password, or log in as supervisor to do so. So definitely nice to be able to do that. We can edit posted transactions in specifically in the AP invoice screen, in journal transactions, in AR invoice screen, and in work orders. So, and I will show you all, so AR invoices, journal transactions, AP invoices, and work orders. And I'm going to show you where you can get all this information if you did not download the release notes already. So editing posted transactions finally, very nice thing. If it's in a journal transaction, obviously we do it straight in here. Okay, and so now we can also, another enhancement here is project management and jobs, what information we can see. Again, something that people have been asking for quite some time. I'm really excited about this. So if I go into utilities, I'm going to show you first how to set it up and then how it works. So if I go into company security and I pull open a user list, I'll see a new column, and it's asking whether or not this individual is subject to job security. So for example, if I look at Josh, he's an estimator or project manager. I only want Josh to have access to his jobs. I don't want him to see Scott's jobs. I don't want him to be able to pull up a job cost journal or bonding report or job status report that shows information about Scott's jobs, or even go into the job record itself and see AR related information. So to prevent this now, I can put a yes or a Y in the subject to job security column next to Josh's name. Close that. The next step, once I did this for every user that I wanted to have this job level security on, I'd come into 3.5. So first of all, for the utilities step, I can only access that user list if I'm logged in as supervisor. So I do want to remind everyone of that. Now I can come into 3.5, and you'll notice that it looks a little bit different, and some of the screens that you go into will look different. It does not mean that any information is missing. So we've got our general information, our contacts and personnel. And so in here, in this middle tab here on a job, and let's pull up a job, for example. So here we go, job 224. On the job access list, I can hit this View Add Records button, and I can select any of my users that I have put a yes next to in the user list. So Josh is privy to this specific job record, but nobody else is. So only Josh will be able to view this particular job. However, if I go to the left here, and I didn't make any changes, job 223, Main Street Post Office, Josh is not assigned to this, so he cannot view this job. So if I leave it blank or select everybody but him, he will not be able to view it. Once I put a yes next to that username in the utilities or company security section, that specific individual or user will only be able to view information regarding jobs or the job record itself if their name has been selected on that job. And so as I come through here, I saw Josh was on 224 and he's on job 186. And those are the only two jobs that he's on. Now I'm going to go over here to change username access, and I'm going to log in as Josh so that we can get a good idea of how it works exactly. All right, and I'm going to close my dashboard. And so now I'm going to go into 3.5 as Josh, and I'm going to hit the far right arrow, and I guess Josh was also listed on the test job. There's job 224 and there's job 186. Those are the only two jobs that Josh can get into. It doesn't even show any other jobs. He would never know if there were 15 other ones or one other one. These are the only jobs that he can get into. Now if I go to job reports, and I mean this goes even beyond this, but let's look at the jobs, the reports first. If I pull open a job cost journal, and I say that I'd like a job cost journal by job, and I'm not going to filter any other way and hit preview, because I'm logged in as Josh, I'm only going to see a job cost journal for the jobs that I have access to, which looks like job 186 is the only one that has costs hitting it. And this is all that Josh would be able to see. if he tried to change this to enlist and double click inside of here, again, it's only going to show the jobs that he has been granted access to. It will not even give him the option to look at other jobs. I can also come into change orders. And I'll notice that Josh can only enter a change order because job is a required field for the jobs that he has access to. So again, he cannot enter a change order, a purchase order, a subcontract, any kind of committed cost, or change to any job that he does not have access to, and he cannot see how that job is doing. While we're in here, I am also going to point out, in previous versions, Sage has always had required fields highlighted in blue. And now they've gotten rid of that, and it looks a little more consistent, no different color fields, but we'll see an asterisk next to every field that is required. So that's a little different. I'm going to close that. And so project management and job level security, again, something people have been waiting for a long time. There are a few updates in service receivables and the dispatch board, so I'm going to go into that. And so if I go into service receivable work orders, a couple of things have changed here. So first of all, on the type, if I hit my View Add Records button next to the different types, I'll see I can now add a dispatch color to each different type. And I'll see these colors on my dispatch board, which is nice. So I can see how many actual service type work orders or resale I have for a specific day or 5-day week period. I can double click inside of any of these and it'll bring up the various colors that I have available to me, and I can change them or assign them as needed. As with everywhere else in the program, you don't just have 20. You can create as many types as you want in here. You'll just hit enter, as in the past, to add additional types. And so again, the asterisk represents a required field, and so you put all that information in, but you can add the dispatch color now. Another area where you can add, let's go to dispatch here, priority. We've added 3 more priorities, and so if I go to item names and colors, I can change any of these. I have emergency, urgent, prompt, plumbing, electrical, and drywall if that's what I want. But I can also say hold, low-level priority, and service contract. And I can change any of these colors by hitting the arrow on the side and assign the appropriate colors, also going to show up on my dispatch board. And say OK or cancel, and assign it accordingly. I also have the option, and let's pull up, no records found, because I'm still logged in as Josh. Let me change my back to supervisor. Sorry for the delay. Okay, now let's go back into service receivables, work orders, and now I can copy any of these work orders. And so if I have a service contract that's repeating itself, I can go into options, and I can copy or repeat a specific record. And so I can copy it one time, hits copy, puts all the information up in here, my location information, etc. And now I can obviously fill out the dispatch with the new times and dates. Or I can, let's hit new record here and not save changes. I can also repeat a transaction. And so I can repeat it every 7 days, every 2 weeks, once a month, 2 times a year, every 2 years, whatever I need to do. I can repeat the entry for a specified number of times or until I delete this, repeated entry. And the dispatch board is a little different. And the reason I'm not going to the dispatch board from within the work order screen itself is because I can now access it directly from 11.3 and not just as a lookup, but I can edit it if I have those rights. So the dispatch board is a little different. A couple of things have been added. So first of all, I have my different priority levels with the colors attached to them. For some reason, the sample company has always been stuck in previous years. And so same holds true now. I'm not sure why, but everything, if you'd like to see actual data, go to 2011. And again, I'm not sure why. So on some of the reports that you go to, but the dates are going to be 2011. And I know in July. In June, we had some information. So anyhow, as you look through some of these, you'll see that the different types of invoices are going to show up according to color as well here. And so that's a little different and nice. Also, we've got some vendors now on here, and we can show their information. So before you were only able to display employees who you assigned to a work order, and now when you put specific vendors in the dispatch area of the work order, you can have their schedules show up as well. And so if we go into options, settings, we can select column setting, and now we can either put in a V for vendor or an E for employee. And so we can have whomever we like show up on the dispatch board. And if it's vendor type, obviously it's going to look at the vendor record screen, and we pick the appropriate vendor. If it's employee selected, it's going to look at the employee record screen, and we pick the specific employee. We can also, and you'll see in the sample company, they put an asterisk in front of everybody who's a vendor and left the employees without one. You can put in however you'd like. You can put in the display name. And so you can put a V in front of everybody who's a vendor. I mean, it's entirely up to you. We can also email vendor technicians as well as our employee technicians any work orders directly from the dispatch board. We've been able to do that in the past with the employees, but not with the vendors. And so again, as long as we have a technician email address put in here, we can email them their information, their work order. If I go back up to settings and go to email setup, I've got a few additional fields that will show up in the email, a few extra options anyway, that weren't available before. So if I scroll down here, the work order priority, service area, client PO or customer PO, and this equipment here, all the equipment that will be used. This wasn't available before, but now it can be added and shown in the email itself. And if I go to preferences here, also we now have the ability to see a dispatch board in real time. So if we enable the real-time dispatch board updates, then if another dispatcher is logged in and entering information, it will update automatically without having to hit refresh. The schedule will update automatically, so that's nice to be able to see. And we have the option now to show warnings if we overbook anybody. If any overbookings are created, it'll show up immediately. So a couple of neat enhancements there. Payroll updates are the next area that I'm going into, and this is really nice. Another thing people have been waiting for here. We can now, and I'm going to go into payroll processing, employee record. We can now email direct deposit forms individually, but in one step. So instead of printing direct deposit stubs, when we go to print them, anybody who we have set up in direct deposit, who we've set up an email address for here specifically, it will give us the option to email out their direct deposit stub directly to them. In order for them to open up their direct deposit stub, they will have to put in a security code, which is going to be the last 4 digits of their social security number, which shows up on their record. So obviously their social security number has to be updated in here, and they will be putting in the last 4 as their password to see their direct deposit stub via email. So first step would be in the employee record to put in the direct deposit email address, and anybody who you don't have a direct deposit email address for in their record, you will still have the option to print the direct deposit stub. And so by putting that in here, we can now go to payroll checks, and I can click on direct deposit and hit print, and it's going to ask me for the starting check number as it has in the past and the check date. And when I hit print checks, it's going to give me a new warning saying the following employees are set up to receive pay stubs via email. Robert Smith, it looks like, is the only one that we've got a record computed for with that email address set up in his record. But if there were more, we would see a list of all of them. And it'll let us know if we hit yes that the pay stub will first be emailed to the employee. Then anyone who is not listed or whose email address is not set up in their record, their stubs will print. And we also have the option to print any of these stubs even if we're emailing them. So do we wish to email now? We can say yes or no. I'm going to go ahead and say no, and it'll say, okay, well then we're going to go ahead and print them, and I can say okay or cancel. So very nice feature now. And I'll do that once, and it'll email individual PDFs to each of those particular employees. And then we've got the accounts payable ACH file. Very nice enhancement also. There's two places where we've got to set this up. And basically what this allows is if we have automatic withdrawal or ACH payment set up with any vendors, we can now, the system can accommodate it. And it works pretty similar to the direct deposit in payroll that we've been able to do. The first step would be to go into utilities and company information, and there's a new tab in here now, vendor ACH payment setup. And so we can put in our routing and account number, our checking account type, and we'll have to put in an account that we want to automatically credit anytime we cut a check, and that would be the posting cash account in the system. Any of this other information that you need to fill in, it's going to default to the standard, and you can obviously call your bank if they need a different format, just as in direct deposit. Once you do that, you can go into the vendor records, and in here we've got ACH payments set up, and so we can enable it, make it active, and select what type of account the money is going into on their end, and put in the routing and bank number that they supplied. And you can also put in an email address here so that you can automatically email them a receipt once you do make an ACH payment through your system. What it will do is, just like with direct deposit, it will create that ACH form that you can save on your desktop or anywhere in your system, and you can upload it to the bank, or whatever your normal procedure would be there, you can do here, and it would post it automatically as well. So now when we go to vendor payments and we go to pay vendors, we have an additional column here, and we can sort by this column by clicking on the header, and it will put together for me all vendors that have this option available because it was set up in their record. And so we can select those specific vendors and change the pay by to ACH payment. When we click pay vendors, just as in direct deposit, it's going to ask us for a transaction and deposit date, create the file, and it will be saved somewhere in our system. I'm going to go ahead and put in 6 and create file. Again, I can save it wherever I want or let it default, and it lets me know when the creation of that file and posting is complete. So I hit OK, and asks me if I want to print a payment receipt, and I can do that, and this is what it looks like. And we can email that directly out if I have the email address set up in the vendor record. So definitely a new feature there. There are a couple of fixes, and what I'm going to do next is show you, because I do want to leave time for questions, is show you what it is that I'm following and how you can see that 47-page list if you have not already accessed it. If we go to Home and Resources, what's new? If I pull open the release notes, and what I've been doing for this webinar is just following the table of contents to make sure that I touch down on everything. But if I go to enhancements, this is 47 pages of everything that's different, and you can go to specific areas. And so the licensing, the desktop changes, as we go through payroll, for example, under payroll updates, there's the direct deposit email that's a little bit different. We go down, and it will give you step-by-step on how to accommodate this. AP goes right into that, the ACH, how to accommodate that. So it definitely gives you everything that I've gone over today is in here. So in these 47 pages, you can print them out or go to each individual. So the fixes in here are just small fixes. Some of you may have noticed things that needed to be fixed, and some may have never even realized that anything was needed needed fixing. So sub-accounts where departments correctly update period 12 of the last year when you post to prior period in the current company, it hits the department appropriately. In AR, we now have the phase description displayed in PO, subcontracts, and change orders as opposed to just the phase number to make sure that we've selected the appropriate phase. In accounts payable, retention no longer causes the net due to display as a negative amount on the invoice. Just several things, and again, you can come into here. Computing payroll, there were a couple of issues in there. Project management, just a job labor hours report. If you put in specific employees, it wasn't filtering appropriately. Now it is. Job cost records have been fixed when you remove paid service invoices, just things of that nature. So you can certainly come through here and see some of the fixes. And then they always include any known issues with new versions and stuff that either they're going to fix or that are just different and they want you to be aware of. And so known issues, the one that they are making a pretty big deal of, Sage, is the internet access. Because with your new licensing, it has to communicate with the Sage licensor. I mean, with Sage directly, we do need internet access for that. And any tax forms and e-filing, I mean, we have needed internet access for any updates, in the past, and that has not changed. So, and then just some things about the different operating systems and servers that it's compatible with, or any issues that they've seen. So again, 47 pages of reading material. It'll cover everything that I've gone over today. And just to remind you to get to that, if you'll go to Home and Resources, select What's New, and Release Notes. Your function keys are the same. You can still bring up your calculator and calendar the same way. F3 will bring up your calculator, F2 your calendar, just as in the past. You can still bring up your dashboard from the main page this way, or by hitting I think it's F11. Dashboard security, you can still get to it from here and filter it the same way. A few things, the look is a little different on here, and now when I move my icon over any of these different cost types, it'll give me an amount that represents that specific margin or area of the pie. And also anything that's overdue is now showing up in red. Also, if it's showed up as a negative in the past as opposed to something with brackets, it'll also show up as red, and so it stands out a little bit better too. But otherwise, it's the same, and you can access everything just as you could before. You can change companies or change username and access. If I click on this, instead of exclusive access, this checkbox, I mean, the wording has changed, but again, your processes are the same. You won't be doing anything differently. You may just be getting to information or different screens, transaction screens, a little differently, and it's for your convenience. Again, you can hide anything you don't want, and you can customize it to really suit you. I'm going to go ahead. We've got about 15 minutes left, and I'd like to leave those last 15 minutes for questions. I realize that some of you will be dropping off of the call. If you need any help installing the software, it is a downloadable version. It should have been emailed to you if you are current with support. And if you are not, you can call Sage directly at 1-800-866-8049. They might ask for your customer ID, and you should have that handy. If you don't, you can always go to Home and Resources. In yours, it will be just the home screen or file. I'm sorry, no, you can go to Help on prior versions. Go to Help and then select About Sage 100, and it'll be About Sage Master Builder. When you pull it up, it'll give you your username and ID exactly as it is registered to Sage. So you can always pull that up and have that ready for your phone call to Sage. Ask them where your email is, see who maybe they have as the key contact, and that's who they would have sent that email to. So it's a downloadable version. We can also provide it to you as long as you're current with support. So please feel free to give me a call, to give Ashley or Gina a call, and they're both with Alliance. I'm going to ask Ashley to help me out here. If anybody has